Okay, this is your test. Brian Oliver talking loud. Hope that's okay. Morning, everybody. Welcome back to the seaside. It is absolutely glorious. We are here in the Netherlands. Circuit Zandvoort, about 20 kilometers from Amsterdam, and we are getting ready for race 4 of a 12-race season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. If yesterday was anything to go by, we are in for an absolute treat over the next hour. Air temperature 24.7 degrees. The track is getting hotter by the second, 29.4 degrees centigrade already. Forecasts today say we might be hitting the 30 degrees. Well, it's probably not going to happen in the next hour, but that's just nice for the crowd that are here at the moment. There's a cool breeze blowing, a big crowd here supporting the DTM package this weekend in Zandvoort. And we had a great race yesterday. We saw Jannes Fischer and David Jahn take their first win of the season in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Marcel Lanez and Denis Bulatov came so close. Bulatov looking for that first win in this series. Marcel Lanez looking for his second. He got a win at Nürburgring last year in the Toyota. Third was Daniel Gregor and Finn Zulauf. A solid performance from them. And there is the man very much stealing the headlines at the moment. Denis Bulatov, well, we saw him make his debut last year in ADAC GT4 Germany, and he has been getting better and better. Simon Connor Prim, who's lining up second on the grid after a great qualifying session. Well, he was in an Aston Martin last year. This is an altogether different beast for him, but he has been taking to it like the proverbial duck to water. Before we get going, I just want to introduce to you a man who's sitting alongside me for this race. Really pleased to have alongside me 2 times a winner in ADAC GT Masters and the 2021 DTM Trophy Champion. I hope I got that right. Ben Green, good to have you here, Ben. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian. Yeah, really looking forward to joining you for this race. It was a very exciting race yesterday. Lots of action, so looking forward to what the next hour has in store for us.
Brilliant. And you're here very much as a driver coach this weekend, is that right?
Yes, I've been working with FK Performance. Yeah, they've had a tough couple of qualifyings, but they came through fantastically in the race yesterday after getting knocked off on lap 1. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what the guys can do today. So
that'll be Tom Wood and Mo Ritson, the English duo, who have been looking very spectacular. Had a lot of bad luck this year. 7th place at Oschersleben has been their best so far. There is yesterday's winner, Jannes Fischer, along with David Jahn, starting from 5th place on the grid. So a bit of work to do from there. Now, just to remind you, there is a success penalty that is applied to the cars that had the 1, 2, 3 yesterday. David Jahn and Jannes Fischer will be carrying an extra 15 kilograms of weight. Marcel Lanez and Denis Bulatov will have an extra 10 kilograms of weight. Daniel Gregor and Finn Zulauf will be carrying an extra 5 kilograms of weight. Ben, that weight addition, does it make that much difference? Some would say, 15 kilos, that's nothing. Does it make that much difference?
I think in my experience, 10 kilos is around a 10th a lap. So let's say 15 kilos is 1.5 tenths. Now, ultimately, it's not going to change your overall pace that much, but maybe it means you come under pressure from people behind. So maybe we can see Jannes Fischer not really moving forward so much, maybe having more pressure from behind and holding up the pack a bit.
Brilliant, and he didn't have that weight during qualifying. It is just during the race. You just saw a quick shot of our defending champions, Hugo Sasser and Mike David Ortman. They were carrying weight yesterday. They had a 15-kilogram weight penalty as a result of their success at Oschersleben. They would have been very happy to have dumped that in a hedge somewhere after yesterday, because they were struggling a little bit for pace, lining up 7th on the grid for this today. They had a poor start in Oschersleben. Mike David Ortman not even completing 1 lap, but then they went on to win race 2. They want to be the first driver duo in the history of ADAC GT4 Germany to successfully defend their title, and they're in a very good position to do it. They are 37 points, 38 points they have, just lost them one there, behind the 46 of David Jahn and Jannes Fischer, so well within reach. There's the BWT Mucker Motorsport Mercedes. Josef Knott, there's a driver we saw in ADAC Formula 4 not that long ago. He's now in the saloon car racing and doing a great job as well. You can see the grid has cleared. the engines are running. We are at Circuit Zandvoort, a circuit that is 4.259 kilometers around, 14 turns, 10 to the right and 4 to the left. Ben, a very different prospect to what we had at Oschersleben.
Yes, I mean, the track is very tight and twisty. It's quite bumpy as well. But luckily with this new first and last sector, there's a lot more racing opportunities here, a lot more chance to overtake and to fight to the front. So, yeah, let's see what people can do today.
Brilliant. The cars are going this formation lap. Really important to get the heat into the tyres and the brakes. And we are very shortly going to take a look at the grid. You just had a little look at the exit of turn 14, the Arie Luijendijk turn, named after that legendary Dutch racer that won the Indy 500. It is 18 degrees of banking, and in a few moments we should see turn 3, which is even steeper, 19 degrees of banking. I tried to run up it on Thursday night. That was a bad idea, almost fell down again. It is incredibly steep now into the undulating part of the back part of the circuit. We're going to have a look at the starting grid, and it is Simon Conner-Prim and Dennis Bolotov who occupy the front row. It's Bolotov who has pole position, visiting Benjamin Lessenes and Gabriel Piana on row 2. Row 3 of the grid, Janis Fitcher, yesterday's winner, and Hendrik Still. It's an all-Porsche row 3. Row 4, Hugo Sasser, defending champion, and Finn Zulauf, so impressive yesterday. And on row 5, Stefan Bastanchev, good qualifying from him, and Josef Knopp. And on row 6 of the grid, Nico Hanke with Ben Durfer, company in the Aston Martin. Row 7, Ivan Akalicic, who's visiting us, and Sami Matti-Trogan. He had a tough day yesterday. Mo Ritson and Philip Gogenlock lining up on row 8. And on row 9, Nathan Schaap, he was in the wars yesterday as well, as was Robin Falkenbach. Leon Vasserthura and Christian Koch line up on row 10, and on row 11 is Max Wimmer. Good to have him here, and Tano Neumann for Overdrive Racing. Another all-Porsche row. It's Michael Makesh on row 12 alongside Emil Hiedrum for BWT Mucker Motorsport, and Patrick Steinmetz. Oh, he's a long way back, isn't he? And Celia Martin, part of the all-female team, and Damon Sazishin bringing up the rear of the grid for Pro Sport Racing. This is an important lap for the drivers, isn't it, Ben?
Well, I was just looking at the track. You can see there's so much rubber going down as people are turning left and right, trying to get heat into the tyres. I think the temperature's going to come into it today. You know, it's 4 or 5 degrees hotter than this time yesterday when we raced, and I think we're going to see more tyre wear. It's going to be hard at the end of the race for the drivers, especially those guys in the front of the pack. They're going to have that fast pace for the whole race.
Yes, and I'm guessing that whatever mess you make of the tyres in the first part of the race, your co-driver is going to have to inherit that mess for the second part of the race. This is a team sport as the cars circulate around the steep banking of turn 14, the Arie Luijendijk turn, and very, very shortly they will be on to the pit straight. This is 1 hour of racing. Hold on to your hats. This is race 4 of a 12-race season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. And we are go. Simon Conner-Prim a long way back at the start. Dennis Bolotov, well, he's gone. And I should think that the stewards might want to have a look at that. Benjamin Lessenes up into second place, the visiting driver. Now Simon Conner-Prim trying to come back round the outside of turn 1. It looks like everybody has made it round Tarzan. That is turn 1. A challenge from the BMW. And Janis Fitcher, the BMW on the outside. Gabriel Piana, former champion. There's contact there from car 35. Sami Matti-Trogan looked like he got some smoke. He's up high on turn 3. So a bit of contact from Sami Matti-Trogan. Looks like, is that broken steering or a puncture?
Puncture, I'd say. He had 3 wide there with 3 cars, a bit of a pinch point in the track, and yeah, there's shedding rubber everywhere, so he'll have to go to the pit straight away with that.
Oh, and he had a dreadful day yesterday after such a good time at Oschersleben for Volkenhorst Motorsport. It's turning into a nightmare, so that car will have to come back into the pits, and it looks like his afternoon may well be over. We won't need a safety car for that, and it's Dennis Bolotov who leads the way. He is looking for his first ever win in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Just to remind you, it is 1 hour of racing. There is a mandatory pit stop for all drivers, and they will need to come in for a stop and driver change during the pit window. The window opens 25 minutes into the race and it remains open for 10 minutes, therefore closes 35 minutes into the race. We're riding on board with Nico Hanke in the number 34 car. He's kind of mid-pack. He's got Josef not in front of him. No, he hasn't. He's got one of the Porsches in front of him, but that, oh, Sami Trogan into the gravel. Now this is going to bring out a safety car. And there we go, safety car. Oh, and he's got together Patrick Steinmetz, who started a long way back. You can see the damage to the Steinmetz car, so that is out on the exit of turn 12. So both cars in trouble. I don't know what happened there. Didn't see anything in the picture, if you saw anything or not. But
No, didn't see anything. It looks very dusty out there. You can see the dust coming off the car as they're driving. So yeah, it looks like there's maybe some mistakes been made or optimistic moves, let's say. But yeah, shame Sami Trogan couldn't get back to the pits there.
Yeah, so we saw him ailing early on and really clearly struggled there, getting ravelled up with Patrick Steinmetz potentially, but certainly two cars in problems. We are only, what, less than 3 minutes into the race. We're already behind the safety car. We thought that might be the case. It's Dennis Buildup, who started from pole position. He's done a great job leading the pack. Benjamin Lessenes in second. We haven't said much about him yet. He's a visiting driver. The French FFSA Championships, where he's come from. And he's sharing with Ricardo van der Ende, a legend in GT4 racing, a multi-GT4 champion, local driver Ricardo van der Ende, who will be taking over that seat. Simon Connor Prim in third place. He's sharing with Jan-Philipp Springer. He had 13th place yesterday, but really wants to get his championship back on track after a really tough day yesterday, which saw him in all sorts of problems. Having another look at the start, and looked to me like Dennis Buildup, whether either he was a long way ahead or Simon Connor Prim was holding back. I don't think it was anything that would look like it would need a steward's inquiry. Or maybe just Simon Connor Prim still out the blocks, do you think?
Yeah, I think he was a bit far back, wasn't he? I think, yeah, Buildup was right at the front and ready to go, and I think Prim was just a bit slow to react, to be honest. But yeah, really unfortunate there with the three guys coming together. Just, I think they all probably thought they were only too wide, and suddenly there was a third car in the mix. And yeah, unfortunately, Sami was just innocent party in the middle there. Real shame there.
Leon Vassather is one of the cars that was involved in that, and also one of the Allied Racing Porsches. You can see just that opening lap. It is the great opportunity to try and make up places, but of course it's where all the drama happens. And I imagine as a driver, you can see the cars kind of packed up in front of you, and the mentality must be go, go, go. This is the opportunity to make up the places.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have eyes in the back of your head on lap one, because, you know, any time you're that close to people, it can so easily have an issue. And I mean, there, look, the tyres have locked up into the corner, so he's probably had ABS failure because the front right suspension's failed, so he really didn't have much of a chance of getting back to the pits unless he really slowed down. You can see the move there. Aston kind of halfway up the inside and is completely inside of Patrick there. He's a bit of a racing instant, I would say.
So that is Celia Martin in the number 13 car, so that was completely unrelated to the Sami Trogan incident. Just happened to happen at the same time. Patrick Steinmetz, who was in a BMW last year and was thoroughly disappointed to be starting so far back today, and this is going to be, well, potentially his worst score of the year so far. A driver who really wants to be challenging for podium positions, and 14th yesterday was the best he has managed so far. You can see that the incident we just saw is under investigation by our race stewards. We'll keep an eye on that. So the number 13 car, Celia Martin, currently down in 25th place anyway. These gravel traps, well, are deep, aren't they? And getting the cars out, it's not the work of a moment, are very hard. Don't get the tow truck stuck in the gravel, please. That's just disastrous. They work so hard here. We've had an awful lot of cautions, red flags, full course yellows in all the racing that's been happening this weekend here at Zandvoort. It seems to me it is a track that bites quite hard.
It is. There's no room for runoff. I mean, look at this this shot we've got here. We've got the track and immediately grass, which obviously has no grip. You can see the truck can't even pull away. Oh, and it snaps.
The strap is broken. Oh dear.
Hopefully everyone's okay down there. Yeah. And then, yeah, straight into the gravel trap. So yeah, any small mistake is punished immediately, and it looks like we're going to need to get some kind of tractor in there to pull that out, because the gravel's so deep down there, and there's no grip for that truck to pull the car out.
It is a proper old school circuit. You see some where, I mean, we were at Hockenheim 2 weeks ago, and into turn 1 where we're practically in the car park, we were going so wide. You wouldn't do that if you had a gravel trap here.
Absolutely not.
Many who say that we need the old school gravel traps back like this.
Bring them back, absolutely. Bring them back.
Unfortunately, I guess the circuits have to be used for various motorcycle racing and all the rest of it, but you're like me, we like the old school circuits. Having said that, we need a nice spaced out program, because we get so many safety cars and red flags when we have cars stuck in the gravel trap, and as you can see, it's not a work of the moment to get the car out. We want to shout out our hard-working marshals here at Zandvoort, who do a wonderful job and have been doing a wonderful job all weekend long in the glorious hot sunshine. It's not always like that. Remember, this time last year, on the Saturday, it was raining. It is a fair job marshalling and clearing up the circuit here. We are behind the safety car. We're only 7 minutes into the race. The race 1 hour plus 1 lap, and hopefully it won't be too long before they can get some heavy lifting machinery over to the stricken number 35 car and get that moved out of the gravel trap. Great perspective here. We're part of the DTM package this weekend. A big crowd here witnessing some wonderful racing. And there, that banked turn 3. And it's a lively corner, which was certainly attracting the attention of the stewards to do with track limits. It looks to me like drivers are trying to use that as an overtaking point, but really only into turn 1. Is that the only real overtaking point?
No, absolutely. Turn 3 is an overtaking point, I would say. And I would say, in general, the track limits, there's no real gain you can get up there. You know, if you go that high up the banking, then you travel more meters in the end. And it's dusty. You know, we're in Zandvoort, there's sand in the air. So, yeah, there's not really too much of an advantage to be gained there, I think. But, yeah, different championships police it differently. But, yeah, your best overtaking place is turn 1 and turn 3, I would say, around here, definitely.
So the banking really has made a difference. We're looking at replays of that incident. We saw the sandwich that Sammy Matty Trogan was in the meeting a little earlier on, and now we've just seen the result of that failure, whether it's steering or ABS, whatever it is, that has plunged the car into the gravel trap. And still, we're trying to get that car moved, but it's a lovely day, so it's not a hardship to be sat out here in the sunshine at Zandvoort. And yes, the heavy lifting machinery is in. Bring in the tractor, that's what I say, or the cherry picker. Pick up goodness knows how many thousands of pounds, euros worth of BMW, and get that off the track, and hopefully we'll be back racing very shortly. And it'll be that man there, Denis Bulatov. You can see the points coming into this race. He and Marcel Lanez, well, if things finish as they are, he will be at the top with 65 points, because coming in, it was Jan and Fitcher who were leading the way with 43 points. But Denis Bulatov, Marcel Lanez have been solid. Had it not been for a penalty at Oschersleben in the first race, they would have turned a pole position into a win. Butts and all the rest of it, unfortunately it turned out to be a 4th place, and they were not too chuffed about that. 2nd place yesterday was a really good score, but Denis Bulatov still looking for his first win in ADAC GT4 Germany, and Marcel Lanez, as we've said already, looking for his 2nd. It is a competitive championship, and DNF can really hurt you hard in the championship hub, can't it?
Absolutely. You know, everyone's going to be consistently up there if they're fighting for championship, and that's ultimately how championships are won, right? You know, you've got to win on the days you can win, but when you can't win, you've got to be still as close to the front as you can. So, yeah, looks like they're in a great place at the moment. The Mercedes and the Porsche seem especially strong, especially the Porsche yesterday. You know, we should watch David Yarn later in the second half of the race. He was on pole by 9/10 yesterday. So, yeah, let's see what he can do in the second half of the race. Maybe he can even challenge Marcel Lanez in that Mercedes for the lead.
David Yarn, who is such an experienced pilot. We've seen him in GT Masters over the years. He certainly knows what he's doing. And when we saw the release that said that Yarn and Fitcher were going to be in partnership for this season, we thought, hey, there's some championship contenders. There's another championship contender, Gabriel Piana. Well, he doesn't think he is, actually. The 2021 champion, who is teamed up with Marek Kyrov, who doesn't have as much experience as Gabriel Piana, and he sees himself very much as someone who is training up Marek Kyrov and nurturing him, so doesn't really see himself as a championship contender. Well, we think otherwise. Both of them very very useful indeed. There is Sammy Matty-Trogan surveying the remnants of his BMW, and there is the marshals. It looks like the car is clear, and hopefully we are going to go back to racing. Yes, we are. Notification, safety car is in on this lap. So in just a few moments, Denis Bolotov will back the field up. Now this is quite a trick, isn't it, making the restart?
Absolutely, so he needs to back the field up before the chicane. The safety car will have left them by now. I see it's going off into the distance through the chicane. So, yeah, if it was me, I'd wait until the last corner and pin it through the final corner to try and get a run before the banking and before turn 1. But let's see when he decides to go.
So, Denis Bolotov becomes the de facto safety car. You can see him weaving. Is he trying to just catch Benjamin Lessiner snoozing maybe? He'll hit the accelerator when Benjamin is weaving. So out they come.
He's gone already.
Oh, and he has. He nails the accelerator out of 12, up towards turn 13. Great start from Denis Bolotov. He really did a good job.
Really caught the field. I know it's a slow car there.
Stefan Bastanchiev. Does his luck go from bad to worse? So it doesn't look like Bastanchiev has got going. The hazard lights are flashing. Is that something that is activated by the driver, or is that a problem?
Absolutely, yeah. He's just trying to tell everyone he can't get going for whatever reason. So, yeah, luckily, a bit of two groups now, unfortunately, but it looks like everyone's got around him okay.
So a slow start from Stefan Bastanchiev separates the field into two. Well, that's hopefully good for less chances of incidents. But Stefan Bastanchiev, he needs to stop walking under ladders because he is so fast. As we look at a challenge for position, the number 20 car be driven by Philip Gogolok, and he's right in the middle of the pack there. Around him, Ivan Kelicic in the number 6 car, who joins us in this series this year. Gogolok is passed, so that's up into 12th place. Ahead of him is Josef Knott in the BWT Muka Mercedes, and the rest of the cars coming through in single file at the moment. It's Denis Bolotov who's leading the way from Benjamin Lessines. Also looking at Mo Ritson. There's a car you're going to be keeping an eye on here. It's in 14th place. You're watching it tenderly, aren't you?
Absolutely. He's right behind that Porsche in front of him. I hope he can get the move done maybe into turn 9 here or into turn 10. Would be a good opportunity as he's so close right now. But let's see. Hopefully the camera's cut to him. Yeah, a little bit further back at the moment, so yeah, see what you can do, Mo. Come on, push on.
That's great stuff. Nico Hanke in the 34 car there as well as Finn Zulav. Had a great day yesterday, currently running in 8th place. So Finn Zulav along with Daniel Gregor, they were a great combination. But Nico Hanke tracking him down, currently in 9th place, using lots of curb up onto that corner, which is way more banked than you realise, and then out onto the stretch that leads into turn 13, then up onto the banked corner. Now I imagine this banked corner you take almost flat out because it gives you a launch onto the pit straight, doesn't it?
It's absolutely flat. Yeah, I mean, since the introduction of the banking, it's made it a flat out corner, which gives you more chance to overtake into turn 1. But move there for Piana up to P3 by the looks of it.
Yeah, Piana in past Simon Connor Prim, so great move there for Gabriel Piana. He's going to make hay while the sun shines, isn't he? That BMW is looking mighty. Yeah, quickest of anybody in sector 1, so setting a purple time the last time around. The number 31 car, Janis Fitcher, yesterday's winner, remember, carrying a weight penalty, now going head-to-head with Hugo Sasser. He's in 6th place, defending champion, can't quite make it past Janis Fitcher at the moment, but that Aston Martin is looking the quicker of the two, but he in turn has Henrik still behind him, so very much in a Porsche sandwich. Then a gap back to Finn Zulav and Nico Hanke. But it looks to me like the number 31, Janis Fitcher, he's struggling a little bit, and maybe that weight penalty is starting to make a difference.
Absolutely, yeah, this is exactly what we said before the race. It just hampers you from going forwards. It just kind of holds your pace a bit more steady, makes you go a bit more under pressure behind. And Hugo was going for a great move there at the inside of turn 3, but you know that low line doesn't give you the momentum off the corner, so he struggled to keep his speed up down the straight, and then the Porsche pulled away from him.
So it is Porsche versus Aston Martin. They're two completely different layouts and formats of car. The BOP doing a great job bringing these cars so close together. But Hugo Sasser, he really needs to move further up the grid if he wants to get his championship challenge back on track. Qualified further back than he was hoping for. He and Mike David Ortman, a great partnership in ADAC GT4 Germany. Now up onto the Lyondike turn. So Is it now? Is he close enough? Not really close enough to pick up a slipstream down into turn 1?
Well, we'll see. I mean, the Porsche have had very good top speed. As we say that, Piano's going straight past Benjamin in turn 1 there. But yeah, look, Hugo's under pressure from the Porsche behind him. No chance to get past the Porsche down the straight there.
So you make a move, it doesn't stick, you end up getting railroaded and losing other places as a result. This battle still continues to rage on. Nico Hanke and Finn Zulav. This is the fight for 8th place. You did just see Gabriel Piana make a move on Benjamin Lessenes for 2nd place. And the Piana car is still the quickest. He's quickest of anybody on the track. So that BMW is a man on a mission. Gabriel Piana in that BMW. Great stuff there as he's moving his way forwards.
Yeah, fastest car on the track, another purple sector in turn, first sector this lap, and the fastest lap last lap while overtaking cars. So that BMW does look quite good today. They've clearly got it set up well this morning.
And he will be wanting to make as much progress as possible before he hands over to Matat Kairov, driver who doesn't have as much experience but is getting better with every race. Still, this fight rages on. Finn Zulav carrying a little bit of extra weight and Nico Hanke behind. But again, it's the same problem. If Nico Hanke makes a move on the Porsche in front, he could end up letting Josef Knops through. Behind them is Ben Durr in the 007 Aston Martin and Philip Goglock. But this is quite an intense battle. And again, you've just got to be so careful, haven't you, that one move, you get it wrong, suddenly you let a whole stream of cars through.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, we're starting to be a bit of a queue now behind Nels Fitcher here, and I think Hugo needs to get the move done very soon. You know, it's very hard to get past this Porsche in this first sector with the speed they have, but he needs to try and capitalise on any mistakes Yanis is making or the lack of pace he has at the moment relative to Hugo. Because if he can follow that close, he should be able to get past. So let's see if he can do a move in this first sector.
Down into turn 1 they come, flashing the lights behind them. The challenge is on from Nico Hanke on Finn Zulav as well, but still very much as you were. So nobody actually making any moves stick at the moment. That overtaking point into turn 1, not finding the opportunity at the moment. We're looking at Gabriel Piana. I can see Ben pointing at the timing screen because it keeps going purple. Piana is on a mission, isn't he?
Yeah, only 8/10 behind the leader now. Definitely the fastest car on track right now, and you know, I think we could see maybe 1 or 2 laps he's going to be on the back of Bulatov, and yeah, this sets us up for a great race because it puts maybe Marat in the lead of the race for the second half, and as he's learning and experiencing, that'll be his first time for that, so it'd be interesting to see what they can do from there.
So very soon it's going to be Mercedes versus BMW at the front, and Aston Martin in 3rd, then another Mercedes in 4th place. Simon Conoprim having a much better day than yesterday. Nico Hanke still monstering Finn Zulav. Now let's have a look at this. This is Hugo Sasser and Yanis Fitcher getting very close indeed. There wasn't quite a push, I don't think, but Sasser looking to the inside, but it was Hendrick still. Well, the timing screens are not showing us any change in position, so I don't think anything has stuck at the moment, but it is incredibly close. One little mistake and the driver behind is going to be through. It really is about concentration, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. You need so much focus to keep the ideal racing line while there's a big Aston Martin in your mirror trying to put you off and trying to get past you. But you know, Hugo's very close. He's following really well here, and he just needs to try and force Yanis into a mistake and try and get past him that way.
So our leader, Denis Bulatov, back out onto the start-finish line and back into turn 1. Still with Gabriel Piana behind, now just 0.3 of a second behind. We are going to have a challenge for the lead, there is no doubt about that. Still, Finn Zulav is defending hard from Nico Hanke. The two completely different configurations of cars, taking different lines into turn 1. Now Nico Hanke trying to get that inside line into turn 2. He's going to have to go high up into the banking. Once again, Finn Zulav just blocking away with the Porsche, and up high onto the banking they go. Still Nico Hanke, can he get a run out of 3, up towards 4, up the hill, down the hill, and then up to the blind crest on the other side. Takes an awful lot of courage to keep your foot buried on the floor coming up here, and then it's another drop down the other side, but still not a route past. So the number 75 car still in 8th place. Finn Zulav at the wheel. We are 5 minutes away from the pit window opening, and very soon it will be all change. It will be strategy as to when to bring the car in. Nico Hanke, if he can't find a route past Finn Zulav, then might be the team decide to get him in early in the window and get him out maybe on some open track, try and undercut him through the pit stop phase.
That's exactly what I would do if I was down there with that team. You know, he's clearly stuck behind this car. There's more pace in the driver, but he just can't find a way past with that top speed in this Porsche. You know, you see he got a run out of turn 3, he had more momentum, more speed in the toe as well, and he still didn't close up on the Porsche. so it's just very hard to overtake when a car has that kind of top speed.
And here at Zandvoort, where overtaking opportunities are few and far between at the best of time. I have to say, big up Janis Fitcher, really under immense pressure there, and he's not making the mistakes, he's not staring in his mirror, he's just keeping it all together. Right, this is for the lead. Denis Bolotov, Gabriel Piana together into turn 1. Then a gap of 2.827 seconds back to Benjamin Lessenes in 3rd place, and then Simon Connor Prim. Then this fight here, Janis Fitcher, Hugo Sassa, all over him, trying so hard, almost pushing him round the corner. Sassa, he has a bit of a gap from Henrik Still at the moment, so he has an opportunity to potentially make a challenge and not lose position, but it is so closely matched. You can see how close Henrik Still is, and still Finn Zulaf now with Josef Knock for company. So Nika Hanke has found a route past Finn Zulaf and is up into 8th place. Josef Knock now putting the pressure on that Porsche. So up over the hill they come. Still very much close together, running nose to tail. It is Bolotov from Piana, from Lessenes, from Prim, from Fitcher, from Sassa, from Still, from Hanke, from Zulaf, from Knock. And that rounds up the top 10. So challenge it further back. That is Philip Gogolok and Leo Vasserthera. Vasserthera in the mighty BMW, finding a route past. BMW's looking really strong here at Zandvoort today.
Yeah, it's looking better today. I mean, Piana's got so much experience. He's a fast driver. He knows the track very well. So, yeah, clearly he's performing very well here. But, yeah, they must have struggled in qualifying to really turn the tyres on because, yeah, starting a bit further back, he's now working the tyres in the race. The car seems to be coming to him rather than going away at this point.
Yeah, all about getting the car set up, and I imagine the setup is more critical here than it is at many of the other circuits.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's always critical. You know, the margins are so fine in this spot. I think there was only a couple of hundredths between each position in qualifying yesterday. So, yeah, we can see the move here from Henke. It's looking like he's getting the side draft there, NASCAR style up the banking. And, yeah, the Porsche pulled away, which actually probably helped Nico in the end there. So, yeah, he's got past him and now has a clean line into turn 1.
Brilliant stuff, and it's good to get the insight on what is going through the driver's head while they're doing this, so that is really good. Thank you for that. Henrik Still now with Nico Hanke putting the challenge in again. Hanke is a man on the move at the moment. He's through, so Nico Hanke moving up the grid. He's past Henrik Still, so that is up into 7th place. Now, is he going to be able to catch up with Hugo Sassa in 6th place? Because you can see him up ahead of him. We'll keep an eye on the gap. Look how quickly he's left that Porsche behind. So Hanke really is dialed in that number 34 car. Rest of them coming along now. Number 8 here, and that is Josef Knock. That's challenging Finn Zulaf. Again, we remind you that Zulaf is carrying a weight penalty, and it is, well, I say just 5 kilograms. That's plenty enough for him, and clearly not enjoying the pace they had yesterday. But Josef Knock doing exactly what we said might happen. He makes the challenge, it doesn't stick, and he leaves himself vulnerable to attack from behind. It's Ben Durr who's behind, and Leon Vasserthera in the queue as well. One of those mighty BMWs. Still, Janis Fitcher holding off in 5th place. And the rest of the cars, this is a view down into turn 1. Now, who's that? That's one of the... Oh, is that Mo Ritson? Oh, dear. That's the FK Performance BMW. This is the car that Ben is very much doing coaching with. So what do you reckon has happened there?
I think he's just missed his braking point. He's either trying to do a move or defend there, slightly offline, and, yeah, just ran a bit deep. Luckily, the car is not damaged and safe, and he can return. I wonder why he lost a couple of seconds in the first sector. But, yeah, big shame for Mo there. Was doing a good job holding his position with that pack, and you have to try and get back on the way in the stint.
So that's dropped him down into 16th place, so he'll have to work hard. Now a challenge for position into turn 1. Ben Durr looking to the inside of Leon Vasserthera. He has the tighter line through turn 1. Now up into turn 2, but Vasserthera has the power coming out of the corner. Let's see what happens up onto the banking. This is yet another challenge further back. Janis Fitcher and Hugo Sassa.
The BMW, look at it, let's go. Great exit off the banking there. He's alongside Hugo now. He's got the inside line for the left. Probably take the move there nicely. That's a good move there.
Brilliant stuff. What a great move from that BMW. Is so dialed in. I mean, that is incredible stuff from Nico Hanke. Past Hugo Sassa, which is not an easy trick on its own. Now he's staring at Janis Fitcher, looking potentially at a podium position if they can keep this pace up. Pit window is open, so we've got a 10-minute window where every car will need to come into the pits for a mandatory stop and driver change. There is a minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. So any driver that goes below below that 95 seconds is likely to pick up a penalty. So every car will need to come in within the next 10 minutes. And the fight still continues. Janis Fitcher feels like he's struggling a little bit for pace. Nico Hanke now up into that 6th place. He's relegated Hugo Sassa. And I'm wondering whether they're going to get Janis Fitcher in early and try and get David Jarn into the seat. Maximise the driver who's potentially quicker. That's not an insult to Janis Fitcher, but David Jarn's so experienced and maybe they'll want to get him in, get David Jarn into the seat and get him back out onto some clear track.
Looks like they're doing exactly that. Yep, straight into the pits, and Hank's following them as well. So
that's the worst nightmare, isn't it? When you pit and then your main challenger comes in behind you and you look in your mirror and you're like, oh no, that's not what I wanted.
Absolutely. Let's see how their pit stops go. Obviously, minimum pit stop time they have to adhere to, so they have to do the driver change as quickly as possible and leave as close to their minimum pit stop time as they can. Bit of a slow time to get out of the car there, but they probably have enough time here in GT4 Germany.
So a longer time, a minimum pit stop time than we have in many of the other categories. You can see the light grey P at the side of your graphic. That means the driver's still out on track. The dark P means that they are in the pits. Green will mean pit stop completed. If it's a red P, it's bad news. It means they've gone below the minimum pit stop time. So Janis Fitcher and Nico Hanke in. So Janis Fitcher handing over to David Jarn. We're looking again at the Allied Racing Porsche doing a little bit of rallycross. That's Christian Koch in the number 26 car, and there's bits of car flying off as well. I wonder if he's damaged the splitter in that Porsche. Certainly looked like something came flying off. Also the number 8 car, that's Josef Knopp, who will be sharing Rodrigo Almeida. He's like, look after the car please, I've got to drive that in a bit. So the Mercedes once again into the gravel trap. They're keeping it moving, so not getting stranded, not necessitating a safety car, so good news, but losing positions as well. Right, Janis Fitcher handing over to David Jarn. Nico Hanke handing over to Max Jansen, a driver who is new to ADAC GT4 Germany this year, but is a very useful pilot indeed. Right, out of the pits we come, and the squeeze, there is David Jarn coming out. He's ahead of Max Jansen. The two cars as they were when they came into the pits now coming out, and you can see Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who is taken over from Ivan Kalicic, and the pit stop, well, it was on the 0, but it's gone red. I think he might have just been an absolute smidgen over by a fraction.
Yeah, 1/10 of a second there, so that's cutting it really fine there. So we're very likely to see Moller-Madsen with a penalty, which is a shame for them, because I think he's a very quick driver. Yeah. Has a lot of experience in the Porsche, would have been coming through the field there for sure.
Of course, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, a former champion in ADAC GT4 Germany, and it could be that a trip to the penalty box is incoming. Now Josef Knopp is handed over to Rodrigo Almeida in the number 8 car. At least he's in the pits at the moment. Max Wimmer into the pits as well, and a number of other cars you can see. Patrick Steinmetz, Celia Martin, Stefan Bastanchiev in 17th place. He's in, handing over to Pavel Lefterov. The leading cars are still Bulatov, Piana and Benjamin Lessenes, Simon Connor Prim. I would suggest that for Denis Bulatov, they're probably going to want to keep them out for as long as possible. He's doing a great job. He is a quick driver. He's got an open track in front of him. I imagine they want to keep him out to the end of the window.
I mean, absolutely, I'm looking at the timing board, and his best lap is a 43.732, and his last lap was a 43.733. So he's 1,000th off his best lap. He's still putting in basically fastest laps for that car. So, you know, if he's got that pace under him, he should clearly carry on and box late in the pit window.
Well, he's still got another 5.5 minutes before he has to do that. You saw on your screen there, car 6, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, a visit to the penalty box. It's a box that is 200 metres long. You saw it on the exit of turn 12. The driver will have to pass through it. It's off the racing line for 1 lap at no more than 50 kilometres an hour. It equates to something like a 5-second time penalty, but it's bad news. That is as a result of going below the minimum pit stop time. So there is David Jarn in the number 31 car, and still the number 34 now with Max Jansen at the wheel, trailing him. Of course, positions at the moment all to play for, because we've still got a number of cars, the top 9 cars still haven't pitted. There's Hugo Sassa now handing over to Mike David Ortman. They hold the number 1 on the Pro Sport Aston Martin as a result of winning the championship and are the defending drivers. Looking pretty solid despite the non-finishing Oschersleben. Just picking up consistent points, not necessarily race wins. It's just finishing in the points every time that wins the championship. On board with Max Janssen and staring at David Jahn, they've swapped. What is going through the head of Max Janssen at the moment?
Well, I think it was a slow Mercedes on the right. They're not sure why, but yeah, Max Janssen is clearly had good pace because David Jahn was so incredibly fast in qualifying yesterday, like we mentioned earlier. For him to be even keeping with this Porsche in front, I think he's doing a great job. So he's clearly carrying on that good pace they had in the first stint. And I would expect both of these cars to go forwards from where they are now. I'd be very surprised to see them stay in the same place.
There is the Pro Sport Aston Martin. I believe that is Mike David Ortman. Yes, it is. Having taken over Hugo Sasser. Now that weight, and it must feel so tempting to want to get going. Right, this is critical. You can see on the graphic on the side of your screen, Nico Hanke. Where is Mike David Ortman going to be in relation to Nico Hanke? You remember Hanke was right with him when the pit window opened. Here comes David Jahn into the corner. Hanke to the inside of David Jahn into turn one. So they come past, and Mike David Ortman a long way back from them. Finn Zulauf is handed over to Daniel Gregor. He comes out of the pits as well. This is the view with Max Janssen even, but it is still. It's Mike David Ortman who has not gained an advantage as a result of that pit stop.
Yeah, unfortunately, they were 1.3 seconds off in their pit stop, so 1.3 seconds over the minimum time, and yeah, most people are cutting it between 2 and 3 tenths. So yeah, I don't know what happened for them in the pits, but they lost a bit of time, and yeah, great move by the local guy Max Janssen into turn one there, clearly showing his pace and his knowledge of the local track to him. So yeah, I'm expecting him to go forward, absolutely.
We have 4 Dutch drivers in the race, local drivers here. Max Janssen, one of them, Nathan Schaap, Ricardo van der Ende, who we've mentioned already, and Max Oosten, who had a dreadful day yesterday, currently in 21st place. Max Oosten, who has taken over the wheel of that car, and he was taken over from Michael Marques, who started in the first stint in the seat of that. Right, into the pits, and you can hear the engine firing up of the car. Just try it. It's Simon Connor Prim into the pits. So in the number 85 car, it's Jan-Philipp Springop who will be taking over the CV Performance Group Mercedes. Right, here comes our race leader, Denis Bulatov. Quite late in the window, not to the absolute limit. So the number 4 car in, Marcel Lenez, will be taking over. Now, Marcel Lenez last year was driving a Toyota Supra. This is an altogether different animal. Here he comes, he opens the door, helps his teammate to get out of the car. Meanwhile, Jan-Philipp Springop coming out of the pit lane, keeping to the speed limit. He rejoins. Pit stops here heavily regulated. You're only allowed 2 mechanics to actually work on the car, 1 to hold the lollipop. If you have too many mechanics on the car, you will pick up a penalty. So the outgoing driver always helping the incoming driver. That pit stop, is it rehearsed a lot when you're prior to a race event?
Absolutely, yeah. You have to rehearse it many times to really get close to that optimal time. I think, again, we have a bit of extra time in this pit stop with this championship, so you have maybe 15, 20 seconds spare if you do it quickly. But yeah, they always practice it and make it muscle memory, so you can always do it every time consistently without any mistakes.
Race is won or lost in the pits. We've still got 3 cars that are yet to have their pit stop. We're currently staring at Jan-Philipp Springop in the number 85 car. David Jahn now putting the heat on to the Mercedes. Just behind them, Mike David Ortman. It feels like Ortman, well, he's staying with this battle in front of him. Of course, ahead of them is Nico Hanke in the 34 car, which we already know is fairly quick. But there is the number 4 car. Now, Denis Bulatov has handed over to Marcel Lenez. Lenez fires the Mercedes up, keeps to the speed limit to the pit exit, and rejoins. Let's see where he is in relation to the other cars as they come through. It should be, one would think, fairly comfortable. Gabriel Piana has still stayed out, but he is going to have to pit very shortly. He's trying to get the jump on the Mercedes through the pit window before he hands over to Marat Kairov, but the number 4 car joins now Gabriel Piana into the pits. That's a slow-moving number 22. That is Alex Hartwig, who's taken over from...
rear left puncture.
So contact or maybe debris. So going slow, he's going to have to come back into the pits. Of course, pit stops not allowed for tyre changes, merely for driver changes. There is Gabriel Piana bundling Matab Khairov into the car, helping him get buckled up. Now Matab Khairov, it'll be a nervous moment. You've seen your teammate do all that hard work, and now you've got to take it on and bring it home. Absolutely,
yeah. You know, Gabriel's done a great job there to really get through the grid and have a good first stint. So now Marat's in a great position to come out, around the top 3, I would say. And if he pushes on, maybe he can maintain a podium. Who knows?
Well, Max Osten had a dreadful day yesterday. His day has gone from bad to worse. He is going to have to do a penalty lap for a pit stop infringement. We're looking again at the Alex Hartvig moment with the tyre going down. He keeps it out of the gravel trap, but clearly in all sorts of trouble there. There's a lot of debris out on the track, so he may have just cut a tyre on some debris that is around his teammate going past in the Allied car. He's into the pits. As you already mentioned, tyre change is not normally allowed unless there is a puncture. This is a replay. Oh, no, it's a replay. No, it looked like he was about to get back in. Gabriel Piana just encouraging Matab Khairov. Stefan Pistanchiev has handed over to Pavel Lefterov. That speed limit feels very, very slow. And Matab Khairov, 0.1 of a second, 1/10 of a second under the minimum pit stop time. I think penalty incoming for the driver that could potentially be the leader of this race. Marat Khairov, you saw the P go red, and it's 1/10 of a second. So bad news for the BMW after all that hard work.
Yeah, I mean, there's fine margins here, but I mean, it's just cutting it too close if you run it within a 10th or 2. There's so much to lose and not much to really gain. So, yeah, big shame for Gabby. I think he'll be gutted there, and the team obviously as well.
Yes, and well, we haven't had confirmation of it yet, but I think it is coming. That makes it even comfier for Marcel Lanez in the number 4 car, who continues in the lead. Great job from the number 19 Pro Sport team, and it's Benjamin Lessenes who's handed over to Ricardo van der Ende. And in his first race in ADAC GT4 Germany, he's an experienced GT4 pilot, but in 3rd place, looking very solid indeed. Pavel Lefterov, a lap down on our race leader, and Marcel Lanez looking a bit frustrated. The back mark in traffic, you can maybe expect them to move aside a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I'd imagine there will be blue flags somewhere. I can't see them on the light board there. So, yeah, maybe the marshal's not recognising he's a lap down. It's obviously very difficult with the pit windows and in this time in the middle of the race to really understand it. But there you go, confirmation for number 2 car there, penalty lap, which they're serving right now. So they're actually quite a far way ahead of 3rd place there somehow. So it looks like he's not even going to lose a position, although obviously Ricardo's going to be under, or closer to him, let's say, and putting him under some pressure probably towards the end of the race.
That says a lot about the job that Gabriel Piana did during that period when the pit window was open. He had a bit of open traffic in front of him. He was putting in qualifying laps, wasn't he? He's doing everything he could, getting that car as far ahead so that he handed over to Marat Khairov in such a way that he could go through the penalty box and not even lose a position.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, he lost 6 seconds in that last sector, and he's still got a gap to Ricardo in the Aston Martin Pro Sport car behind him.
I should think that Marcel Lanez has got steam coming out of his ears because he's still stuck behind the overdrive Mercedes. We're having a look at one of the BWT Mucker Mercedes. I really do wish they'd paint them differently because I don't know which one that is. It's either 8 or 18. I think it's 18. I think it's Alex Connor, isn't it? Yes, it is. Alex Connor. And we see bits falling off the car. Oh, my goodness. Something flying up in the air, part of the under tray, back onto the circuit, bringing lots of gravel. Well, that will not have improved it whatsoever. He was in 16th place. I don't think he's going to remain there, is he?
No, unfortunately not. Yeah, it's, the beach is just down the road if you want to go to the beach. I don't think we need to go while we're racing, so maybe someone needs to tell him that next time.
Did you see Pavel Lefterov sliding the car out of the corner? He's holding on and holding up our race leader, Marcel Lanez, flashing the lights. Now, I should think that the stewards might want to get involved in this before too long because that car is a lap down, the number 23 car. We saw it in problems earlier on, and our race leader caught up behind. It's allowing Matab Khairov, well, let's have a look. The gap is 8.427 at the moment, so it's a fairly decent gap, especially as a result of the trip to the penalty box for the number 2 car. But we'll keep an eye on that and what the timings are, the gap is between them. At the moment, Matab Khairov running on his own, but Ricardo van der Ende in 3rd place. After the pit stop window, Max Janssen in 4th, and Jan-Philipp Springhoff in 5th. David Jahn, yesterday's winner, in 6th place, ahead of Mike David Ortman, having a fairly quiet day in 7th place, and then Tim Reiter. And there we go, we knew it might happen. Pavel Lefterov, a visit to the penalty box for not respecting blue flags.
I think we're setting up for quite a nice race here. Max Jansen is one of the fastest cars on track at the moment, setting a 44.6 last lap, which, to give you reference, is half a second quicker than the leader at the moment. So Max Jansen's going to catch up to Ricardo, I think, soon. He's around 1 second a lap faster on the last lap, and then Marat is also 1 second slower again than Ricardo. So they're all going to condense, I think, in the battle for second. Looks to be quite intense, probably in a few laps' time, I would say.
Oh, it's wonderful, isn't it? Would you love it when the field is compressing? That number 34, what Volkenhorst Motorsport BMW, well, we always knew it was going to be quick. Volkenhorst, a legendary team. And Nico Hanke, a fairly experienced pilot, Max Jansen, new to the series this year, knows this circuit well, and clearly loving the conditions, loving the car. The number 34 BMW, currently in 4th place, closing in on the green Aston Martin. Ricardo van der Ende, who is visiting us this weekend as a guest in ADAC GT4 Germany. Is he about to get bumped off the podium? Well, it's looking fairly likely. Marat Khairov coming under pressure from the two of them. So this is 2nd, 3rd, 4th, running together. This is looking like it's about to explode. They're running, compressing into each other. In the meantime, Marat, get the name right in the end, Marcel Lenez, there we are, in the lead, is 10.5 seconds ahead of Marat Khairov. So he hasn't suffered too much as a result, getting stuck behind the number 23 car, so he continues to stretch his legs at the front. The battle for 2nd and 3rd by no means over.
No, I think we're going to see some moves into turn 3 this lap, if not maybe turn 1 here from Max. So, yeah, he's right up behind Benjamin. He's getting a great toe. Looks to the inside, looking to the inside, goes back to the outside, to the optimal line, and brakes very late, comes fully alongside. He's going to try and get underneath Ricardo now. Let's see if he gets a cut back underneath the Aston Martin. He's going to give him the good line for turn 2, and then for turn 3 as well. Let's see what we can do from here.
Brilliant stuff. They're running side by side up onto the banking on turn 3. And the unusual lines, you're taking different lines up there, but it seems to me that just that high line is the only quick way to get around there.
Absolutely, yeah. Ricardo defended fantastically there. He sent it high up the banking, gave Max nowhere to go, basically, and kept his momentum, which is why he's kept the position this lap, but he's going to be under pressure the rest of this lap and the rest of the race, I would say.
So as long as Ricardo van der Ende is defending from Max Jansen, it's allowing Marat Khairov, and I expect that it is allowing him just to open up the gap a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see he's just slightly pulling away from Ricardo there, but I think it looks inevitable here that Max is going to get past soon. So I think when he does, he's going to have Marat straight in his eyes, and it's obviously then like for like car there. It's the same car, so it might be a bit more difficult for him to get past.
Going to be interesting to see what happens. We've still got 17 minutes remaining of this race 4 of a 12-race season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. You saw a message flash up on your screen just now. Joachim Bolting has had to visit the penalty box for a pit stop infringement. It wasn't a time infringement. It may well have been to do with number of mechanics or crossing the white line before he was meant to. Now look at this. The battle continues on. Ricardo van der Ende challenging Marat Khairov, but defending from Max Jansen. Max Jansen looks to the inside of the Aston Martin, up onto the banking. This time he's got the run, his foot flat to the floor, out onto the pit straight. He did it even before they got anywhere near turn 1. So along goes Max Jansen past the pits, steals the position away. Ricardo van der Ende off the podium positions. I don't think that Jansen is going to hang about too long with Marat Khairov. I think Max Jansen has a lot of experience with that BMW. He's already looking very eager for that 2nd place.
I think, yeah, he's going to try and get past him as soon as he can. Look, takes the nice high line there, keeps momentum through the corner. Look at the exit off the corner. Lots of momentum there. I think he's going to draw alongside already.
Yes, it's drag race up the hill. They go towards turn 4, turn 5, up over the blind crest and down towards Scheivak, which is turn 7. But there, Aston Martin just picking up a little bit of dirt, also following through on his shirt tails. But Khairov just holding off the Aston Martin. But Max Jansen in that car, I don't think he's going to have time to get after the leader, because while all that has been going on, Marcel Lenez has opened up over 15 seconds on 2nd place. That is a monstrous lead to be having with 15 minutes of this race remaining. Still, this battle will continue, but it is Max Jansen, the man making the headlines. Is this as far as he's going to go? He'd probably love to see a safety car at this point, because that would close him up to the leader. Now, Jan-Philipp Springhoff in 5th place, lining up Ricardo van der Ende for 4th place. So the green Aston Martin in front. Springhoff has nobody behind. It's David Yarn, who's quite a long way behind at the moment, about 1.8 seconds. So he's got the room and the space to make a challenge. But Ricardo van der Ende is also trying to get past Kyrov.
Watch Springhoff here. I think he's going to get a great run down the straight here on the Aston Martin. Not sure he has the top speed to do it before the braking zone. He's going to be right up behind him. So I think we should see a challenge for 4th place here.
So here he comes along the pit straight, once again tucked up behind the Aston Martin. Now to the outside into turn 1 under the heavy braking. You don't want to get this wrong because you'll end up in the gravel trap, and that's exactly what's happened. The number 85 car off into the gravel trap. Fortunately, he keeps it going. He gets onto the escape road, so he's able to rejoin, but he has lost a whole load of places. I'm looking to see, was that Daniel Greger that came past? Yes, it was. So he's now behind Daniel Greger, so that'll put him in 9th place as a result of that big moment. You can see here what happened there.
Oh, just braked very late. I think he didn't need to brake too late. Also, quite a big lock-up on the front right there. So, yeah, couldn't turn into the corner. And, yeah, it just outjudged it. Just hasn't judged it correctly, I think. Misjudged it. And that's sometimes what happens with racing. You know, you're braking offline from a much higher speed. And yeah, Ricardo did a great job there defending his line and maintain his position.
I get the feeling that there is just a sense of trying to get as much out today as possible after such a bad day yesterday. Both he and Simon Conner-Prim, who were leading the championship, but after yesterday lost that lead, had a dreadful day, trying to get that last point, getting every maximum piece of pointage that you can, and then just overdoing it into that corner. Somebody who's not overdoing it, Marcel Lenez, 16.4 seconds over Max Janssen. So Janssen is not reeling him in at the moment, and not likely to either.
Fastest car on the track, Lenez.
Yes, absolutely. So Marcel Lenez stretching his legs out the front. The Mercedes looking mighty with a little over 13 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. You can see the lap evolution there. So Marcel Lenez just pushing. Max Janssen, I think 2nd is as good as he's going to get. He's going to be happy with that. Marat Kyrov, though, in the 3rd place, has succumbed to Ricardo van der Ende. No, he hasn't. Ricardo van der Ende still. Yes, he has. Sorry, Ricardo van der Ende up into 3rd place. David Yarn is the one who's got past Marat Kyrov as well. So Kyrov is going the wrong way down the pack. And so David Yarn has also got past, as indeed as Mike David Altman. So all changed. Marat Kyrov not really able to hold on to the position, the hard work that Gabriel Piana has done, but now Marat Kyrov dropping back down the order into 6th place. So Ricardo van der Ende back up into the podium positions, but for how long? Because now David Yarn, man on a mission. And there is a car, that is the Joachim Bolting, number 9 car, who's had a problem. Let's have another look, see what's happened, just all on his own. Just as that tyre's going off, just giving it too much?
It's very tricky around here at Zandvoort. If you go slightly off the racing line, there's sand everywhere, sand and dust. You can see it in the air now. It's very slippery. So that last corner is going to be a little bit slippery on the exit there. You see all this gravel and dust on the track there. And yeah, Zandvoort's one of those tracks where if you're just a few inches off the racing line, especially in a race, you have absolutely no grip.
So Bolting's been able to rejoin, but as you say, there's an awful lot of debris on the track, a lot of gravel and sand. So the leaders are going to be coming round to find that any second now. In fact, Marcel Lenez just circulating around that final corner. This is a great battle that we are focusing on for 3rd place. It's Ricardo van der Ende, David Yarn behind, and Marat Kyrov, who is behind now Mike David Allman, who's made the move past the BMW. But the 3 cars together, black and white flag being awarded to Jan-Philipp Springhoff for an unsafe rejoin. That is a warning, but anything else like that, then he could pick up a penalty. Now look at this, for 3rd place, David Yarn, yesterday's winner, to the outside into turn 1. He gets it slowed down just nicely round the outside. The outside will become the inside, and it is David Yarn who muscles in front, but now he's still back onto the outside again, up onto the banking. Ricardo van der Ende has the faster line, but now he gives him the squeeze, and look at my David Allman, ever the opportunist. He takes both of them now side by side towards turn 4 and turn 5. Mike David Allman, brilliant stuff alongside the Porsche. They come up over the hill, the blind crest, so brave. Finally finally, David Yarn squeezes back in front. Wonderful stuff from Mike David Ortman.
That was fantastic. I had it in my mind. I thought Mike was in a great line there to benefit from these guys fighting in front, and he did exactly that. Went high, cut back underneath both cars, and unfortunately, again, the Porsche top speed just pulled him alongside, even though Mike had the momentum there. But you can see here the fighting they're doing now, Mike's in a great place to benefit from it. So he set himself up perfectly, let them hit each other, run the wrong line through the corner. Look at this, up high, and just tucks it underneath them while they're both running wide.
Brilliant stuff. Mike David Ortman, who has a fair bit of experience, not as much as David Yarn, but putting it to good use there, just staying cool. And that's it, isn't it? It's keeping your head, not doing anything rash, and just seizing those opportunities. And in the meantime, it's allowed Marat Kairov and Tim Reiter to close up as well. There is a spinning number 48 car. That is Yevgen Sokolovsky, the Ukrainian driver, who's put it into the barriers in turn 13. Now, if he can't get that moving, this may bring out a safety car. This could be Christmas for Max Janssen, because if a safety car comes out, of course, that 17.7 second gap between first and second will be eaten up. Now, challenges again, Ricardo van der Ende with Tim Reiter for company. So Tim Reiter, who has taken over from Leon Vasserthura, remember how quick that BMW is. He just sails alongside the Aston Martin with relative ease. David Yarn still has Mike David Ortman behind him in that third place. So there, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all running together around turn 3. Up the hill they come. There's 9 minutes plus 1 lap remaining of this race. There is a stranded car out on track, the number 48 on the exit of turn 13. So we're keeping an eye on whether there is going to be any kind of yellow flag or safety car, because that will change the whole context of this race. So there's Marat Kairov as well as Tim Reiter, the two very similar BMW cars, and in between them, Ricardo van der Ende in that 5th place in the Aston Martin. Still, David Yarn holding on to that podium position, and suddenly Mike David Ortman looking, well, he was looking a little bit vulnerable there to the number 5 car of Tim Reiter just behind him.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, driving through the dirt and the sand doesn't help you there on the exit of turn 7. So looks like he had some moments then into turn 8 and turn 9. I think the tyres should be clean by now. He should be able to gather himself up and push on again to try and keep with Yarn. I mean, if he can keep in the toe of Yarn down the long straight, I'm sure he'll have good enough top speed to keep that the BMW behind.
Good news for our race leader, Marcel Lanez, is that Yevgen Sokolovsky has been able to get that Aston Martin moving and get it back into the pits. So we will not need a safety car for this. There is less than 8 minutes remaining of this race, plus the 1 lap. It is still all to play for. A safety car now would change it completely. At the moment, Marcel Lanez leads by 18 seconds from Max Janssen. Then is this battle, the third. David Yarn, Mike David Ortman with Tim Reiter challenging hard behind. Then Ricardo van der Ende, Marat Kairov. Then Nikolai Moller-Madsen, who's recovered well from that penalty early on. And he has Daniel Gregor for company. Gregor, who has had a great weekend along with his co-pilot, Finn Zulauf. Gregor in the 9th place, and then Jan-Philipp Springhoff in 10th. Tom Wood, well, he's made a good recovery along having taken over from Mo Ritson in 11th place. So after that excursion into the gravel, it looks like Tom Wood has dialed in quite well. Yeah, he's 4 tenths behind Springhoff at the moment, so he's right up behind him. I'm not sure where on track, probably just coming up towards turn 7, I would say. So yeah, he's right there on the cusp of a top 10. Actually just set the best first sector for that car right now. So yeah, I think he's pushing on, and by my maths, he should be 1/10 behind him. So it looks very close. Fight between those two guys. Maybe we can see that on track in a moment. Maybe he can set a move up for turn 10 or into the chicane. So Mike David Ortman continues to fend off Tim Reiter, but that BMW has been mighty in the hands of pretty well everybody this morning. Mike David Ortman in the 4th place, now having dropped back from David Yarn after that great, audacious move in turn 3, but now back into the 4th place. I should think Ortman and Sasa would be happy with points for 4th place. Again, the consistent points haul is what they need for their championship hunt, but would obviously love to be on the podium. The good bit about not finishing on the podium is they will not have a penalty, a success penalty, next time around. Right, now coming under pressure though, Mike David Ortman with Tim Reiter moving to the inside along the pitch straight, got a good launch out of the final corner in towards turn 1, looking fairly easy under braking. Mike David Ortman, you saw the back end just snaking slightly. Didn't look like he put up that much opposition though.
No, I think he was clearly braking very late, but I think what we're seeing here with the Aston Martin, which is something I know from when when I raced against them. In the morning, when it's a little bit colder, they have very good performance. But now it's very warm today. You know, it's 26 degrees outside. He's running right up behind people. When that car gets hot and the intake temperature is coming up to a higher temperature, starts to lose a bit of power, just in my experience racing against it. So it looks to me like they're struggling for straight line speed there, and I think that's mostly heat related, I would say.
The good bit is he's got another Aston Martin behind him, so hopefully they're having the same problems as well. You see a shot there in the garages. There is Tom. There's your man. And as you said, he's caught up with Jan Philipp Springhoff. So this is going to be for 10th place. Now Tom Wood, he's a pretty useful pilot in that BMW, isn't he? And he was in Aston Martin last year, wasn't he? But he's taken to the BMW very well indeed. Now challenging Springhoff.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a job to get past Springhoff. You know, we saw he was running second, I think, overall earlier in the first half of the stint, especially with Prim driving. So, you know, that Mercedes is one of the fastest cars on track, especially with Lenners 18 seconds ahead.
Here endeth the awful weekend for Max Osten. He will be pretty happy to say goodbye to
Front
this
left
weekend.
is down there, either suspension failure or yeah, a puncture, something like that.
So the 54 car crawling back to the pits. It was a miserable day yesterday. I had a wonderful time at Oschersleben with a second place in race 2, but it's no such success today. Maxime Osten, the local driver who, well, up until this weekend, loved Zandvoort. I'm not so sure he's happy about it at the moment. He's crawling back to the pits, keeping out of everybody's way, but their afternoon is well and truly over, as indeed is their morning. Keeping out of the way of everybody. Now, here we go. Tom Wood to the inside, finds a gap into turn 1. Jan Philipp Springhoff trying to come back at him, but I think Tom Wood got that one done, but he's now caught up immediately with the number 75 car who's there as well, Daniel Gregor. But Tom Wood becoming under attack again from Jan Philipp Springhoff. So going up high, getting caught up behind that Porsche, kind of left himself vulnerable.
Absolutely, yeah. I think, yeah, great move first of all into turn 1. That was really opportunistic, got it stopped, didn't hit the Porsche in front. Big slide over the curb through the turn 5 kink there. But now he's right up behind that Porsche. So yeah, with the pressure from behind, he couldn't get the move done into the banking. But let's see, again, I think down into turn 1 or turn 3 on the next lap, could be moving forwards from there.
Getting past turn 3 and then able to open up that space from the car behind. It gives him a bit of breathing room, I guess. So now he can size up Daniel Gregor and try and make that move. Daniel Gregor in the Porsche versus the BMW, Tom Wood. But Jan Philipp Springhoff, he's not done, is he? He's still there. He's still challenging Tom Wood. I think he's going to struggle to get back past him. So Tom Wood really trying to make the challenge on Gregor without losing that position that he worked so hard to gain. It is 9th place that they're fighting over. Nikolai Moller-Madsen a long way up the road from them, but it is still Tom Wood in the middle of that pack. So as they come out of 12 towards 13 up onto the banking, now Tom, he's not really close enough at the moment to do anything about the Porsche, is he?
No, unfortunately, again, with that top speed you see from the Porsche, I don't think he'll be challenging him, but he is in the tow. The Porsche doesn't have a tow, so he could have good top speed here and maybe can challenge into turn 1.
So here we come down the pit straight. He's not as close as he'd like to be. He's having a little look, has a think about it.
Just going deep. He still makes it, still makes the apex somehow.
Makes it stick and still holds on to that position. I think Tom Wood was wishing and everything he'd got that the Porsche would go deep into the corner, but it doesn't happen. There was Max Janssen going through, I think that was. He's running very much on his own. There is David Yarn, then Tim Reiter, Mike David Ortman, Ricardo van der Ende, Matan Kairov, who's doing all right actually, he's still in 7th place, Nikolai Moller-Madsen, Daniel Gregor, and then that car there, Tom Wood, with Jan Philipp Springhoff monstering him all the way, but now opening up the gap once again. The different dynamics of the cars working better for different drivers on different parts of the circuit.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if Tom can keep with him, though, I think he's faster. You know, when you're behind someone, it's always difficult to keep the same pace because you can't see as much. Yeah. You get a little bit of dirty air at high speed. Not so much in these GT4 cars, but there is some. And look, he's all over the back of him through this tight and twisty Sector 2. Very tricky section. So, look, he's right up behind him there. I think we're going to see some kind of challenge soon. Just needs to try and get a run somewhere. Obviously, 1 minute left of the race. It would be great to see him up in 9th.
So Daniel Gregor just sliding slightly in the corner. The tyres probably getting to the end of their life at this point of the race. Again, Jan Philipp Springhoff staring at the back of Tom Wood spring up in 11th place. We did see Nikolai Moller-Madsen up close with Mata Kairov just now as well, challenging. That is the number 13, Fabian Volven. Great to have Fabian in ADAC GT4 Germany this year. The all-female team, along with Celia Martin, running out on her own at the moment in 21st place in the Pro Sport Aston Martin. But certainly not troubling the point scorers this weekend. And I'm just looking to see how she's doing. She's lap times not especially quick. Right now, look at this. The challenge. You said it was going to come, didn't you? There it is. It made it look quite easy. Tom Wood up to 9th place, past Daniel Gregor, and didn't let Jan Philipp Springop through while he was doing it.
Absolutely. I think he must have got in his mirrors or something. Well, that's an optimistic move from Springop. Porsche's going to have... No, Porsche goes wide. Yeah, good move by Springop there. Lovely one up the inside and, yeah, threw him off his line, I think. Same into turn one. I think Tom just got in his mirrors again, and he did outbrake himself this time, which allowed him to go past.
And Nikolai Moller-Madsen stranded. Now this may well bring out a safety car. I'm trying to see where that is out on track. It's into turn one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that car is stranded, so that's a shame. He was in 8th place. Yellow flags are flying now. Are we going to get this race to the end? Well, the clock has struck 0, so there'll only be one more lap after this. Our leader's currently coming into turn 13. That is such a shame as he walks away from the car. Nikolai Moller-Madsen, the champion in 2020 in ADAC GT4 Germany. I think we're going to get it without a safety car because there's not time to get a safety car out. The race leader starts the last lap and has been utterly dominant. Marcel Lenez ahead of Max Janssen. Such a strong performance. Denis Bulatov, well, he'll have everything crossed in the pits, looking for his first win in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Looking again at incidents further back. That is the 26 car going wide, just about avoids the billboard. Tom Kiefer at the wheel of that. And all is well, even if it is down in 19th place. So Marcel Lenez, 21.7 seconds ahead of Max Janssen. He's got time to stop and have a cup of tea before he gets to the finish line. He wants to get on with it, though. It's going to be a gap before we wait for second place to come at the end of this lap. Marcel Lenez leading Max Janssen. David Jan in the last of the podium positions. A great weekend for him and Janis Fitcher. But the car that is stealing the headlines, it has been an utterly dominant display. The Denis Bulatov, Marcel Lenez, they started on pole position. They've done all the hard work and now lead the way by nearly 22 seconds. A phenomenal job just around towards turn 11. You can see, well, that says it all about the kind of race we've had, doesn't it? Bits of debris scattered around the track, up on to turn 12, and then the last couple of corners. It's the final stretch to turn 13, up onto the Lyondike banking, and it is the car number 4. It is the BCMC Motorsport powered by Eastside Motorsport Mercedes. It's Marcel Lenez at the wheel, along with Denis Bulatov, who win race 4 of the season for the ADAC GT4 Germany. Right, we're just going to talk amongst ourselves while we wait for second place to come along. Max Janssen, well, he now is just coming into turn 13. That's how far back he is, up onto the banking. We're waiting, and here he comes. Second place, Max Janssen. Good, solid job, along with teammate Nico Hanke, crossing the line for second place. And in a few moments, we will see third place because David Jan and Janis Fitcher continue to add to their points haul. They were always going to be championship favourites. Third place, it's a good haul. Tim Reiter and Leon Vasserthura cross the line in fourth place. And then defending champions Mike David Ortman and Hugo Sasser rounding out the top 5. Great job by Ricardo van der Ende and Benjamin Lessenes, who come home in 6th place ahead of Marat Kairov, who took over from Gabriel Piana in the BMW. And Tom Wood and Mo Ritson, good job, 8th place. They're going to be happy with that.
I think it's a good recovery, yeah. He was only 3/10 behind Marat on the last lap there, so he closed in 1.5 seconds on that last lap to the next BMW in 7th place. So, yeah, really pushing on well there. Yeah, shame they couldn't get a few more places in the first half of that race, but a good recovery nonetheless.
Brilliant stuff, and as always, pure entertainment from the ADAC GT4 Germany. They have waited so long. Well, Denis Bulatov has. He's been so close for so long. Finally, he takes his first win in the ADAC GT4 Germany. Along with Marcel Lenez, who was driving a Toyota Supra last year at the Nürburgring and took his first win. There is Dennis. And he's like, at last, the monkey is off the back. It looked like they were going to get that win at Oschersleben in the opening race, but for a penalty which dropped them off the podium positions. But a wonderful job, and Max Jansen as well for Volkenhorst. Really, really strong stuff from him, and he and Nico Hanke. 2 third places, a 5th place and a 2nd place. That's not bad for the first 3 races of the season, and then adding a 2nd place to it on top of that. Good job, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
31, David Jahn, Janis Fitcher. Well, they won yesterday. They had a 5th and 6th at Oschersleben and a podium today, despite the weight penalty they were carrying. They are going to be strong all season long. But that Mercedes, well, the Mercedes and the BMW, both of them looking so strong today. It's appropriate. It was Mercedes, BMW from Porsche. 3 different manufacturers in the top 3 positions around the banked Lyondike turn and out onto the pit straight, and shortly to come back into the pit lane and into Parc Fermé, where hopefully we'll be able to bring you the podium ceremony, and I should think there'll be some big smiles there from, especially from Marcel Lenez and Denis Bulatov. They've got a long time to think about it as well, because it's a couple of months now, well, certainly a month and a half before we go to the next round. It's at the Nürburgring in August, which will be races 5 and 6. So they've got plenty of time to ponder and reflect. Very much in the championship hunt coming into this race. They were 2nd, 3rd with 40 points, just 6 points behind David Jahn and Janis Fitcher. So by my calculations, as complex as they are, they should jump to the top of the standings as a result of that win. David Jahn, Janis Fitcher into 2nd place, but don't take my word for it. My maths is notoriously dodgy. Still think drive of the day, actually, Max Jansen and Nico Hanke, I think they were looking so strong.
Absolutely, yeah. Just seems like if they started at the front, they could have challenged for the win. But yeah, that win by 22 seconds is a dominant performance by Marcel Lenez and Denis Bulatov. They should be happy with that, and yeah, obviously on to the next one.
Interesting to see whether anything happens with the BOP before the next round.
Always a topic, always a topic.
The great equaliser of the BOP, that's what allows us to have so many different manufacturers and so many different formats of cars in the same race. So the drivers together, well, Marcel Lenez getting back in again. We left something behind.
Right, see, after 22 seconds of winning, I'd want to keep driving. That was obviously working very well.
Very well indeed. The very tall Max Jansen being congratulated by Nico Hanke, and a great solid drive. They are going to be championship contenders all season long because they are just so consistent. 3rd, 5th, 2nd. I mean, that just says it all, doesn't it? So they emerge from the cars and head out shortly towards the podium. A very tight schedule here at Circuit Zandvoort this weekend, so we've got to get them up on the podium as quickly as possible, please. And you can see perfect conditions to witness what has been race 4 of the season. It was Marcel Lenez, Denis Bulatov who take the win ahead of Max Jansen, Nico Hanke, David Jahn, Janis Fitcher, Tim Reiter, Leon Vassiter in 4th, Mike David Orman, Hugo Sassa 5th, Van der Ende and Lezenez in 6th ahead of Kairov and Piana. And great drive from Tom Wood and Mo Ritson through into 8th place. 9th, Jan-Philipp Springhob and Simon Connor Prim. Well, it was damage limitation in the end, wasn't it? Daniel Gregor, Finn Zulaf rounding out the top 10 ahead of Max Kronberg, Henrik Still, Rodrigo Almeida and Josef Knott tearing away. Ben Dua, they've had a quiet weekend ahead of Alex Connor and Emil Yedrum. The rest of the positions scrolling through. Non-finisher, well, Yevgen Sokolovsky, we saw him up against the barriers at one point and eventually he went to retire. As did Pavel Lefterov. Alex Hartford, Nathan Schaap didn't make it to the end. Neither did Sami Matti Trogan. We saw that early on, so disastrous weekend for them. But they will brush themselves off, regather themselves and be back again at the Nürburgring in August to try again. There is our 3rd place, David Jahn for Avia WNS Motorsport in the Porsche 718 Cayman, bumping across the curbs. A solid 3rd place to go with their win from yesterday. Second place, the mighty BMW M4 GT4 for Volkenhorst Motorsport with Max Janssen and Nico Hanke at the wheel. But stealing the headlines here at Zandvoort, such a strong performance. The number 4 car being driven by Marcel Lanez and Dennis Bolotov, BCMC Motorsport powered by Eastside Motorsport to give it its full title. First place to go with yesterday's second, and that puts them to the top of the points standings by my reckoning. Great job, entertaining. Have you enjoyed it?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, and I forgot they even came second yesterday, so to do that with a success penalty as well is very impressive. Very, very impressive.
Well, it's been great to get your insight as well on it. Finally, we've had some useful information come out of one of these broadcasts, so good job there. Thank you for Ben Green for joining us. There are your race winners. Hopefully, we'll get a bit of a podium before we have to sign off. As I say, it's a very tight schedule. You can see Carrera Cup lining up. There you go. Confirmation, Bolotov and Lanez, and in fact, Hanke and Janssen up to second, Jan and Fitcher to third. But look how close it is. 3 points in, well, the top 6 drivers. That is very impressive. Hugo Sasser, Mike David Ortman just lurking there. 16 points adrift. Doesn't take much for that to turn around. Simon Conor Prim and Jan-Philipp Springhob, 21 points adrift. And then we see the rest of the points scrolling through. Tom and Mo in 8th place, 33 points adrift. They've got a bit of work to do from there, but it's not out of the question, is it?
Absolutely no. I mean, what's this, the second weekend of the championship?
It is,
so
yeah.
we got a long season ahead and, yeah, many opportunities to make up those points.
Brilliant, and lots of action still to come. We are going to be at the Nürburgring at the beginning of August, and the Lausitz Ring a couple of weeks after that. The undulating Saxon Ring, that's the great leveler. That's when we see the points shaken up. They love the Saxon Ring with the waterfall, the part of the track that we all love, and then it all comes to a stop at Hockenheim in October. You can see Carrera Cup Germany just coming onto the track, and if we can hear ourselves above the row, we'll hopefully get the drivers up onto the podium in just a few minutes, and we'll be able to see them with their trophy presentations. It has been a great display from ADAC GT4 Germany. Always entertaining, always action-packed. I don't think I've ever seen a boring race in ADAC GT4 Germany. So we're just waiting on the podium now. It's a little way to get up there. It's very hot in the car. I mean, the track temperature is 34.2, air temperature 26.4. I should think it's probably about 60 in the car, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Luckily, we have aircon in most modern GT4 cars now. We're privileged. I guess no one runs it, though. No one ever wants to run it. You can't be that guy that runs the aircon. So it's more made for the hot climates than Zandvoort in the summer.
Oh, it's a pretty hot climate. When you come from the UK, this is a hot climate,
true,
I tell you.
Very true.
You get the teams waiting, the Eastside Motorsport team, BCMC, powered by Eastside Motorsport, waiting in the pit lane for the drivers to appear on the podium. And we will hopefully see those in just a few moments. And here we go. Onto the podium we come.
Second race, and for the overall classification, we ask forward. Third place finishes David Jan and Janus Fitcher.
David Jan, Janus Fitcher onto the podium. Solid job from them.
And second place, Max Janssen and Nico Hanke.
Max Janssen, Nico Hanke. Big size difference between them. I guess the seat insert comes into use there.
Yeah, I think you can move the pedals away in the BMW, so I'm sure they'll be fully extended.
All the way. Look at that, though. It's taken such a long time. The top step of the podium. And now represented from BCMC Motorsport, powered by Eastside. And now the national anthem. 3 German flags flying above the podium, 3 national anthems. Matteo Braga from Pirelli awarding the trophies to our race winners. And you can see how much that means. And a Grubeck from BWT, who have such an impact here in the ADAC series, changing the world sip by sip. And their 3rd place trophies awarded as well, and then 1 for the winning team. So, trophies held high. They are wonderful trophies. I'll try and nick one of those on the way out. There we go. Pose for the photographs. And then the race for the champagne. We'll see you next time at the Nürburgring. See you in August. Bye-bye.